Hi, in today's video we are going to talk about two mysterious sliders that live next to each other in Lightroom, Vibrance and Saturation. So if you don't know what the main difference between them is and why it is such a big deal in photography to understand them properly, you came to the right place. I'll not only explain what saturation and vibrance are, or what the main difference between them is, but as a bonus point, I'll tell you in what order you should be using them to achieve more natural looking photos in no time. So let's get started. For a really long time, I couldn't pinpoint what's the exact difference between saturation and vibrance. I thought they were doing exactly the same thing, but I was wrong, because both of them affects colors, but in a slightly different way. And as you may already know, color has a huge impact in photography, even black and white one. So it's a great tool to convey emotions, describe your vision, and help you tell a story through your photos. So what's the exact difference between them? Let's start with the easy one first, which is saturation. It controls the intensity of colors for a whole image equally. That means that every pixel that has already high saturation is going to be treated exactly the same way as the one that has low saturation. So every pixel is going to be boosted, which in the end means that its color is going to be deepened and brightened. Easy, right? So how about vibrance? Doesn't it increase the saturation for a whole image as well? Yes, it does, but in a little bit smarter way. It affects only less saturated colors on the image, and it protects skin colors to not be oversaturated. What Lightroom does under the hood is actually analyzing the image to recognize the part of it with the most amount of saturation while also determining if there are any skin tones. Thanks to that, the effect will be more subtle but way more refined at the same time. So let's compare both settings on the same image so you can clearly see how each of them impact the image. On the left side, you can see an edited photo. So first we are going to boost vibrance by 50. As you can see, the skin colors still look natural while all other ones are more vibrant but subtle. Now let's boost saturation with the same value. As you can see, all pixels were boosted equally. While green in the background may be what you desire to achieve, the skin and bird are not really looking natural. To sum up, the main difference between vibrance and saturation is that vibrance detects highly saturated portions of the scene as well as skin tones. It protects them while increasing the saturation on the rest of the image. In contrast, saturation simply increases the intensity of every color in the entire scene, regardless of its current level. It happens because saturation affects all pixels while vibrance only adjusts the less dominant one. So which one should you use first? In what order you should be using them to not overdo the photos? The truth is that both sliders and their impact is a massive deal for the workflow. And that's why vibrance is before saturation slider in Lightroom. That's the order you should incorporate into your workflow to achieve more natural looking photos as much as possible. Start with the vibrance slider, as it's less likely that you get extremely unnatural looking images. Simply see what it does to the image, and after that adjust the saturation to your taste. And don't be afraid to use negative values, as in some cases, the majority of the image may look great, but some parts may be a little bit too much. But remember to always be careful with saturation slider, as it's adjusting colors at the global level. Here goes the bonus tip. So using saturation and vibrance only isn't ideal. Colors rarely benefit from the global adjustments, and this is why it's always good to use HSL and color tool in addition. Thanks to that, you can target individual colors and get better results. And while editing photos, I always play with vibrance and saturation panels first, and then I adjust individual colors to my taste. and I highly recommend you to do the same thing. So there you have it, not only the difference between saturation and vibrance sliders, explained in a really easy way, but also a small tip how to improve your workflow with colors. Next time you start editing the photo, remember to do it in the right order to achieve the desired effect. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any additional questions, write them in the comments section. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers!